Good evening, everybody, and welcome back to Sean's saddest day of the week. And the day gets a little bit sadder because, unfortunately, at the very last moment, right as we were about to go live, we got a note from Craig Braddick that he couldn't join us today. Some emergency popped up in his life, and we should get maybe a little bit more detail later on. But right now, we don't know what it's about. So hopefully, all is well with Craig.
Yeah, absolutely. They just ended their card, so he was nice enough to schedule it that he was going to end the card and he was going to join us right away. So we'll definitely reschedule with Craig and have him on.
So are you the guest or am I the guest tonight? Who's the guest tonight?
I guess I got to be the guest because you always play host, and I'm not ready to play host.
I guess you can play guest. You can play host now because that way I don't ask all the questions. Well, we can talk a little bit about some news, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I was going to say, you got all the producer stuff too, so you know what's going on.
Yeah, I just press some buttons, Sean, and usually pressing the wrong one, unfortunately. It depends on whose buttons I'm pressing, I suppose. So we'll get to some news, some articles. Pimli-GO surface maintenance on target so the track can begin, or so the stuff can begin. So the racing can begin on April the 17th for the track to reopen training on the 20th. So they're hoping to have the training there ready for the Pimli-GO, the new surface. They resurfaced the track at Laurel a little bit earlier in this year too, and in doing so created some problems with the track, Sean. So hopefully they've gotten hopefully the same crew, right?
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
Charles, how about that day today at Keeneland, Charles? Did you have that $173 horse on top? Oof. I wish I had.
So hopefully, nothing's wrong with Pimli-GO after they do it like it was Laura. What's funny about that, Robert Bryan, is I actually talked to Ty Kennedy today. He's driving, so he's taking the weekend off. He had his dad's birthday and stuff, so he's on the road driving. So
yeah, I talked to him about that today too, right? I talked about him today. I said there's Ty Kennedy said there ain't no speed like Delta Down speed. I don't know if that horse won or not, though, because I kind of was like, I threw my arms up in the air. I don't know if you watched Keeneland today, but I watched every single race, unfortunately, for my picks.
I did not watch it, but I saw their prices were coming in.
But Speed got to the front and won. That first race, I almost feel like they should have just canceled that first race. Because if you're watching it, if you're watching it live, they have like microphones pretty close to the where the jockeys are going in the gates there, and you can hear the jockeys going, no, and the gates open. And like 4 of the horses didn't even come out. They came out eventually because the gates opened, but they got off to such a slow start. And that one horse was like, boom. So you got like a 3-4 yard jump. 3-4 like stride jump. 2-3 lengths ahead of everybody, and in a 4.5 furlong race, that race was over. But you could hear at least 3 different voices saying no, right as the gates were opening. And we had that conversation yesterday with Marshall Mendez, who was saying that when the gates are opening, they're having conversation, and it's up to the starter. And usually they'll give you a second to settle if you're telling him, hey, we're not ready to go. But in this case, the starter must have had a lunch date or something,
or you just heard the wrong thing. Speaking of race 1, the jockey, he had a double today, Gerardo Corrales. He's actually a jockey that he's been under the radar for a while. He had a good day, and I seen some people start noticing his name today, but he's been a jockey that's been winning races at places, and a really good jockey. Just need to get the opportunity. So brought in a couple $44 and $30 price horses today. So
yeah, there's just bombs galore. So Speed, and definitely it looked like if you were inside and on the rail, it looked like there was a big advantage. Not necessarily the rail horse, but whichever horse got down to the rail, because them horses on the inside were just running by everybody at the end to the finish line, and it didn't matter what their odds were. And if you got to the front and you were right and you could get down to that rail, it's next to impossible to get past. So I'm going to be interested tomorrow to see it. I'm going to definitely, because Terry and I are doing our handicapping for Keeneland tomorrow, I am definitely going to have an eye towards horses that pop out of the gate fast, can get clear and get down to that rail, and see if indeed that plays out again today. All horses were on speed trips today. Remember, we talked about it, and the track completely reversed bias. Yeah, so explains all the big prices. It did. And if you also notice, Charles, that a lot of the horses got right down to the rail. And that one horse, a lot of the times at prices, I don't know, 3 or 4, at least I can think of 2 or 3 one horses that won, and all of them played a price. So I'm going to be looking for that tomorrow, and tomorrow will probably flip back the other way. All the off-the-pace horses.
I have the results here. 4 horses won number 1, and I believe they all paid over $20.
Yeah, so it just stood out to me right away, like boom. So keep an eye on that tomorrow. I'm going to bet the number 1 horse tomorrow. I don't care if it's 50 to 1 odds as my first pick in every race. All right, Shawn. Yeah. So go ahead. I'm sorry.
The hard part with that is exactly that. If the bias switches, or
it shouldn't switch overnight unless it like rains, like torrential rain pour down there or something. I don't know, but it looked to me, according to the weather forecast, was supposed to clear up and get nicer for tomorrow. So I don't know. And the thing is, the track did go from muddy to upgraded to good during the course of the day, and it started to sprinkle a little bit. So I don't know what degree the weather played a difference, but man, you could just see clear as day horses on the inside were just pew, pew, and speed. So another bit of news, if you're going to bet the one horse across the board, hopefully on Friday, the last day for the Mahoning Valley, hopefully TD is on all the one horses over at Mahoning Valley, and they all finish in the winner's circle so that we can collect on these mandatory payouts for Mahoning Valley.
Yeah. And, that's another track. It depends on the day. It can be favorite heavy, and then it can also just be bombs away. So mandatory payout, that would create good payouts all the way.
Well, you hope it does, especially if there's a pool that's left over there for sure, right?
Oh, I'm sure there'll be something, that would be collected.
That always attracts more people, and just like mandatory payout, it sounds like you're poised to make some big money for sure. Yeah. So maybe this can make some big money, Shawn. We talked about this too, you and I, about maybe setting up some. We talked about it on the show, setting up NFTs for horse racing, and this outfit called Open Locker. They're going to open or launch something called Open Stables with Epicenter and Echo Zulu, where you can take this blockchain and what are these non-fungible transfer tokens or something like that. And they're going to do something with the 2 right now leading contenders for the Oaks and the Derby. What do you think about that, Shawn?
I still don't know much about this, but I didn't even know until you told me those are the 2 they picked, which makes sense. I don't know much about them. They're a big thing right now. So,
well, they're especially with younger people. My son was going through some of the demographics with me because we were talking about this, and I was saying, "Yeah, let's do this." And he's like, "Dad, that's an old people idea. The people who buy these are like 18 to 27 or something. Like you got to think like a kid." I'm like, "Well, you're in that age group. What would you do?" He's like, "Oh, you got to tie it to a social issue." I'm like, "All right, so let's go ahead and do it. Money for a jockey. For the like injured jockeys or like the aftercare for horses." And he's like, my friend's doing it. And he tells me no one's buying them anymore. So, I don't know. I'm confused.
Is it one of those like baseball cards though? Like it's worth so much you can buy it and then you can sell it later if it's worth more money?
Yeah, it's more like
stock market.
It's sort of like the stock market, but it's Bitcoin. So you have to think about like cryptocurrencies. It's more like cryptocurrencies. But instead of a cryptocurrency, it's an image. So it's like a numbered image, and there's just one of it. And then that image itself, it's a digital image. It's on the blockchain, and it has value like a Bitcoin or like Ethereum, those sorts of things.
So now you say it's one of it. So they don't sell a bunch of them?
They sell different ones, of the same thing, I guess, with different numbers. But they're slightly different in variation. You know what I mean? Okay. It might be, one... maybe like you got one of those shutter picture takers and his left leg is down and up or whatever, or they cartoon. It's a lot of times what they'll do is they'll take them and they'll cartoon them. So they'll take a picture and then they'll add some dimension to it. A lot of times cartoons, honestly, I don't know if I would buy one, Shawn, to be honest with you. I wouldn't mind doing like the digital horse racing where you buy a horse and you train the horse according to the digital. So I did see that in Australia. Terry and I talked about this, but they sold a digital horse for $500,000 Australian dollars. That's real money.
Yeah.
I don't know how much an Australian dollar is worth relative to the US dollar, but it's got to be, I would say it no worse than $300,000-400,000 American dollars.
Yeah, it sounds good enough for me.
The way our dollar is going, though, it might be flipped.
Yeah. Well, when I read this story, and this is just my betting mind, it actually brings up. I think the Oaks and the Derby double this year is going to create a lot of value too, since both races seem to be open.
You think Echo Zulu is going to be beat?
Well, there's a couple other. What about Secret Oath?
I don't know. I haven't really looked at it yet, but I think, I don't know. The horse hasn't been challenged, has it, Shawn? Echo Zulu?
No, but I mean, Secret Oath ran against the boys and with a better ride might win. So I would go Secret Oath right now.
I don't know. Well, one or two, both of them are going to be low odds, I would suspect.
Yeah. And there's another one.
Well, I mean, Secret Oath ran against the boys, but she wasn't even close. And who won that race? Is that the Cyberknife race?
Yes. Yep.
Yeah. And who do you think is going to come out of that race and be competitive in the Kentucky Derby?
Barbara Road.
Well, maybe.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, I think it was a good race. And like we said, that horse got a bad trip and she held her own. She could have definitely finished second or win that race with a better trip. So I like her in the Oaks. I know there's a couple other horses too. I feel like it shouldn't be like Echo Zulu shouldn't be like too much of a 1-to-1 type favorite or anything like that. So I think there's value with the double this year with the Oaks and the Derby being wide open.
Well, we'll see if that works out to be that way. We got some unfortunately sad news, I guess. I call this the what the H news. What the hell? As if though the people in the horse racing business don't know like the tone and tenor. But this gentleman here, it's just a horrifying picture, right? I don't know much about training horses, but I know that if the horse is chained to a tree and it's laying down, you probably ought not be beating it with something. And this gentleman here, Rodolfo Sanchez, actually got arrested too for animal cruelty. Was apparently beating the horse on video, and someone took a picture of it and put it online. So I think that's the sort of stuff that the industry can do without, right?
Yeah, absolutely. It's like everything else. Why? There's plenty of good people out there that if they had the opportunity would take care of these horses, that they had the money, take care of these horses, treat them right. But unfortunately, we got a lot of the bad apples in there that they have the money and that's all they care about. They don't care about the horses, and this is the result that you get. And
I would suspect, to be honest with you, in terms of behavior like that, my guess is that there's some other frustrations inside that man's life. And the animal is on the unfortunate receiving end of those frustrations because unlike the other things that may be driving those issues, the horse can't fight back, so to speak. I mean, this is just speculation on my part. I don't know him, but my experience with people who act out like that is there's usually something else that's driving them. And this is the one place where they feel dominant and in control and able to act out.
Yeah, and for horse racing's sake, this is a guy that should never train horses again. Like, if somebody sees this guy train horses again, that's a problem. And that's where, these stories come up, and then 3 years from now, you'll see this guy training somewhere. And I don't care what track it's at. This guy shouldn't train anywhere. You can't do that and be forgiven and be left back in the game like that.
I believe in second chances, but I also feel like you should know better, right, than that. And that also on top of that, I do think that the people who work around, and this is maybe a little bit of what Electra Boone was talking about the other day when that conversation came up. But in 2022, with cell phones, right, that take pictures, have cameras, and all that sort of stuff, I would say to anybody on the backside who might be watching or see this, if you see something that looks like this, whoever put the video out there, I'm going to tell you did the right thing. The fastest way to clean up any kind of corruption is to shine light on it and from inside out. So don't be afraid. If you see something like this and you want a venue, DM Shawn. We'll authenticate it. And if that's the case, we don't want stuff like this to happen to horses or to people who work there, or to feel intimidated by the fact that you might lose your job. I mean, people like this should be the one losing their jobs.
And that's the issue, is unfortunately, like anything, even my full-time job, anybody's full-time job, is if you see something like that and you go after it, you're doing the right thing, but in the end, you're also going to be without a job. And that's the predicament that people are put in.
I don't necessarily think that's the case. I could tell you where I think what happened. Well, for me, once I was in a situation where I walked in on some people acting inappropriately, one person towards another in an office situation, and I basically said, "What the f are you doing?" Right? And I thought, "Oh hell, I'm going to lose my job." But the person who was on the receiving end of the abuse was like, "Oh, thank God you walked in." And what happened was that person ended up leaving, got retiring at that point shortly thereafterwards, because now there has been some proof. So it was I don't know that's necessarily the case, Shawn. I think if you do the right thing, a lot of good things can happen to you.
Yeah, absolutely. But it's going in, you're taking that chance and that dive that, hey, it's all going to work out. That type of thing. And
Why chain them to a tree? I think personally, the horse is obviously given up, right? He's laying down. He's being as about as submissive as you can be. I don't know what benefits you're going to get out of continuing to beat him at that point, right? I mean, you could see in the photo, he's given up. He's done. He's had enough.
This is like every other crime. This is like every other crime you see on the news when you can't shake your head around it. It's good reason that you can't get your head around it, because you don't have it in you to do something like this. Only people that have this in their head would even understand why you would even chain the horse to the tree as well. It's no job is the problem.
William, no job is the problem. Hush, hush. You think that people just don't want to say what's going on because they feel like it'll be a total negative for the sport? I think cleaning up the sport and getting rid of folks like this would be a huge positive for the sport, because, but you're right. You had the guy sitting on the dead horse laughing and making phone calls and stuff. That's right. But, that situation, I think, is a little bit different in that he probably didn't do anything to facilitate the horse dying. It just happened to die and he sat down on him. It's what I would call insensitive and probably not the smartest thing to do, but not at, the cause of it wasn't his hand, so to speak, right? Here you have active abuse from somebody that should not occur.
100%. The only thing I will say is we're always caught up in the now moment. That's why I'm saying hopefully a couple of years from now, this guy does not resurface at another track, because it's just people forget the name and they forget until they, this guy might be winning at 20, 25% somewhere else. And eventually they'll go, oh, this was the same guy that did that. And then it all adds up. But there's that here moment, we forget about it a couple of years from now. And we can't do that.
Well, that's where the racing commissions are not supposed to forget about it, right? It should be,
and it doesn't matter.
I'm okay for second chances for people because everybody makes mistakes. And like I said, my guess is just a pure guess, but from my experience about people who act out like that, there's some other thing in that person's life. And the horse just happened to be on the unfortunate end of it. Get therapy, whatever's wrong, get it fixed. You have a second chance, but you want to talk about a zero tolerance policy. I mean, you yell at a horse, you're going to be gone. Right. So I'm all for giving people a chance to rehabilitate themselves. Zero policies almost never work, zero tolerance policies. So I would give him a chance, but his rope would be so short that, like I said, if he swore at a horse, he'd be out of the business.
Yeah. You got to be, when you start doing something like that, you got to be strict with it. So
absolutely.
Yeah, that's the part of the sport that definitely needs to be cleaned up. And it was disheartening, but it was, you kind of knew that somebody in the game said what she said the other day, Electric Boone, and she was just being honest, which helps too. Everybody that can be honest, put this stuff to the forefront and do something then.
I understand discipline. I have a dog. My daughter tells me I shouldn't yell at the dog, but I still yell at the dog, right? She says she's afraid of you, but I don't, once I get the reaction I'm looking for, that's that, right? I don't roll it over and start whipping it to prove my dominance over the dog knows, right? Who's the master? That's that. So tomorrow, Terry and I will be back to discuss Keeneland. As I said, I will be focused heavily, Shawn, on inside speed horses, hopefully that track bias remains the same from one day to the next. Tomorrow night, we're going to be doing Keeneland. Unfortunately, our Tom won't be able to make it. Let's see, Rich, tune into Keeneland YouTube stream with Jeremy Plunk. He goes over the next day card and gives some very nice trends and stats that are not in our business form. All right, I'll make sure I check that out tomorrow, so that'll be helpful as well. Any thoughts today, Shawn, on something we may have missed or covered, or? I know you wanted to talk a little bit about congratulations to somebody.
Oh, Riley. Now you're gonna last names.
Grudzen.
Grudzen and Devin.
Gruden with a Z. Grudzen.
And Devin Magnone. Right? Did I get it right? Got engaged. I believe it was Sunday or Monday. So they've been together for like 4 years. And Devin rides. Riley trains. Devin won, and then he got off the horse and asked Riley to marry, and they were happy in love and engaged. So congratulations to both of them. They've both been on our shows and are friends of the show. So congrats to Devin and Riley.
Yes, our blessings. May the joy last forever. For sure. Anything else, Shawn?
Tomorrow we're doing Keeneland for tomorrow night we're doing Keeneland for Saturdays. So try to figure out the trend for Saturdays, then be fine. We don't have a guest yet. I'll hopefully figure somebody out and bring somebody on. And then next week we got Monday apprentice jockey Brianna Cup, Tuesday jockey Kevin Roman, who's been tearing it up at Fawner, and Wednesday retired jockey Rosemary Heimeister Jr. I can also say scheduled today, Monday, May 9th, we got Emma Jane Wilson, and Tuesday, May 10th, the day after, Ronnie Ebanks, who was a jockey, and he's got a story, and he actually just released a book and everything too. So we'll find out a lot more about that.
Oh, that'll be a lot of fun for sure. Well, again, tomorrow, Terry and I'll be back at noon Eastern. We'll try our luck at Keeneland again. Hopefully, like Charles said, we do better than we did today. But I don't know. I mean, today the track did flip and you had a lot of bombs. So obviously not a lot of people had those horses, or their odds wouldn't have been so high. So hopefully tomorrow we have a few more in there. We'll try our best to get on the right side of those bombs tomorrow. Friday, unfortunately, Tom had something come up. So I guess Wednesday night is the night something comes up for people. He won't be able to join us. And then thank you for that, Charles. We're always, I mean, for the most part, Shawn's on top of this. He's been slacking on Thursdays lately. So
you know what? I thought of what the difference is. On Horse Center, I can bring anybody on for any track. Thursday night, we try to do a specific track, and some tracks are just harder than others to get somebody in. Well,
I'm thinking about maybe, Charles, I don't know if you're down there at Keeneland. I was looking at the schedule today, and since Thomas he ain't going to make it on Friday, I was thinking about maybe hopping in a car and driving on down there for Friday, Saturday, or for Saturday at least, maybe Sunday too. It's only about 5.5 hours from Chicago. The way I drive, 4 hours.
There you go. Just remember, it's getting nicer out. You don't want any tickets to add to your trip there.
Yeah, I know. It makes them more expensive for sure, right?
Yeah, and then if you get in the, whatever state you're in, you got to go back to that state and everything else to appeal. Yeah, you don't want any of that.
Yeah, big hype on Gomez, but yeah, he's been doing good at Parks.
He is really good. He's good at the New York tracks too. I like playing him. I actually talked to his agent too. I'm trying to get him on the show. He's got the same agent as Frankie Peddington. I'm trying to get both of them on the show, so that'd be fun too.
Oh, maybe Tony Black can assist us with that. That would be nice. What is it? Oh, so one thing, if anybody knows or can get us in contact, or if anybody from HISA is watching, we would certainly like to speak with Miss Lazarus as well. So we'd like to talk to her about the upcoming changes, what it means to horse racing. Ask her a couple of questions, some tough ones, I hope, Shawn, that are come out of the blue, but at the same time, fair questions, because everybody who watches know I'm a skeptic of bureaucracies. They never seem to live up to the promise. Things get much better done at the local level, I think, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Kylie is killing it too. Like, it seems like the people we bring on the show lighten it up.
Oh yeah. And these young female jockeys are really, there's going to be a new wave in 10 years. I mean, the competition
there already is a new wave, Shawn, right?
Well, it's going to be even, somebody always brings up, well, there's no women in the top 100. I can tell you in a couple years, that's going to change. In 2 years, that's going to change. One of these girls that we've had on, whether it's Kylie Jordan or Maddie Rowland, one of them is going to be in the top 20 nationally in jockey. That's how good these young women that are coming in are. Well,
I thought when you should go on Easter weekend, so I can't go. Okay, so I should go Easter weekend, so I can't go. So you don't want me to be there while you're there, Charles? Or I should go Easter weekend because you can't be there this weekend. I'm not sure I understand that. You want to be there at the same time or not at the same time? So I don't know. If it's Easter weekend and you can't go, I can wait a weekend and go. That's all right. I'm thinking about going down there. Maybe give me another week to plan for it and get down there instead of trying to do it on a whim and see if maybe I could save a few bucks in hotel or whatever else along the way. So you
That's
can let
nice,
me
though.
know. Huh?
That's nice though. If you're only 5 hours away, that's
It's like
nice.
5.5 hours away according to Google Maps. So if you drive a little bit faster than that, you can go like that. All right, Charles, we'll see you tomorrow. You have a great evening as well. All right,
Charles
Shawn.
didn't want to answer that. Charles didn't want to answer that question.
Yeah, I don't blame
Whether he wanted to see you or not, he's out of here.
Yes. Well, I guess that answers the question, doesn't it? You don't want to see me. All right, Shawn. So that wraps up. That takes us to wire. Unfortunately, Craig could not join us this evening. Talk a little bit about some news. That was a unfortunate thing that happened with the horse over there, with the quarter horse guy. But anyway, we'll hope to wring all that sort of nastiness out of this business and continue to focus on what's good by getting rid of what's bad, like those old Popeye commercials, out with the bad and in with the good.
I always think this too. There's a lot of outlets out there that will just keep pounding the negative, but they're not really doing much to change it. We're trying to promote the positive, and sometimes we get slack for that because we're not bringing up the negative, which we do on the show though. But once we get big enough, if you guys help us grow,
who's giving us slack anyway?
I don't know. Yeah, of course. But we're going to keep doing the positive, and once we're able to make an impact with the negative stuff, we're gonna do that. We just got to grow to where we're a name that we can actually make some change, and then we'll do that.
Well, I mean, I think we just tell it the way it is, right? That who, what, when, where, and how. When I went to journalism school, that's what it is. It's not our place to take a position, although we do have our opinions here. But our job is to report the who, what, when, where, and how, right, Shawn?
Right.
And then we have opinion. So no, I can't go this weekend. Nothing to do with your positive energy. All right. So we'll maybe the following weekend we'll go there. Thank you, Robert. We appreciate that. If you did like what you saw tonight, please give us a thumbs up on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, however you can appreciate it there, so that we get the recognition in their algorithms. If you haven't done so, please like us and follow us and subscribe on YouTube at Horse Racing Radar TV. You can see down there below. And I have my own too. I actually did a couple of things on Twitter today, Shawn.
You doubled it. Yeah, you doubled when I put everybody on the list that deserve follows. I put you on there. You went from about 7 to 14 today. So, before you know it,
exponential growth, my friend. I'm surprised I didn't go to 0 after our picks at Keeneland today.
You're going to have a few hundred.
They didn't make that association yet, I guess. All right, Shawn. Well, we'll be back tomorrow night to talk about Keeneland. We're not quite sure who our guest is going to be, but we do know we'll be picking horses for the Keeneland track on Saturday. We hope whatever's going on with Craig works out to his best, that it's it's not a personal matter, we hope, right? Not a health-related issue, just one of those things that pops up from time to time, hopefully a flat tire or something like that. And then we'll be back again on Monday because Shawn's about to go weep.
Yeah, absolutely. I just, work on next month's schedule. We got this month's schedule worked out. Next month, I'll just keep plugging away, keep getting guests scheduled, and keep talking to more people. Absolutely. That's what I do in my free time.
Well, we went wire to wire today, Shawn, without our friend Craig Braddick. We hope, again, everything is fine with him. We'll be back tomorrow trying our luck at Keeneland again. Hopefully the track bias today will work to our favor tomorrow. Until then, Shawn, we hope that your hump day, your Wednesday night, and everything that you do ends up in the
winner circle.
Absolutely. Have a fantastic night. We'll see you tomorrow.